Hey there everybody, welcome to a new This Is Us video, and in this one what we are going to do is look ahead in a lot of different ways. We know already that episode 5, it ain't coming until January.
Nope, January 5th, guys. We're waiting a while.
Pain.
Yeah,
Pain.
there is. But we wanted to come on and talk about, the creator and directors, and there's been some people talking about what's coming up. And so we've gone around and looked at different interviews of what they've said so that we can come and talk to you about what to expect.
And since we're moving into episode 5 of season 5, why not have 5 things and just make it a nice big parade of 5s?
Yep.
We got a lot to get into here. Of course, if you guys enjoy this discussion, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That is the #1 way to make sure you don't miss anything else, because we're not done with This Is Us by any means this year.
Also, how was everybody's weekend? Happy Sunday.
Yeah, no kidding. We got Thanksgiving coming up. We're kind of in like the lead up right now.
Yeah, we had a pretty good weekend over here. We had a giant bucket of those cheese balls. Thumbs up on the video for anyone else that had that.
It is what I like to call the Chuck Bartowski, because I'm pretty sure Chuck had those in one episode. But yeah, we have cheese balls, we have banana bread. Really, the meals of champions are here, guys.
Yeah, we also, I made a tiramisu for the first time this weekend. It didn't look all that great, but it tasted really great. But for the rest of the stuff, we actually took a bunch of pictures, so we have that up on our Instagram. So if you're not following us, you can go over to Matt and Jess TV and give us a follow.
Let's get into #1 here, because Kate, we've already gone over whether or not that box she was holding was a pregnancy test or ovulation kit or whatever's going on with Kate and Mark in the past. We're going to get answers soon. In an interview with Deadline, Ken Olin, he's not only executive producer, but he's one of the more prominent directors. He did a little press tour after this past episode, and he indicated episode 5 is going to be very, very heavy on Kate and her story.
Yeah, and we saw in the promo Kate talking to Mark where he was like, I really missed you. So there is more. I think a lot of us suspected that there was going to be more even last season when we saw Rebecca go up to the cabin and tell off Mark and tell him never to be around again. We all kind of knew that wasn't going to be the end. Those types of situations are difficult, and they don't always end when they should, as cleanly as they should. And this is looking messy, but it looks like this is going to be a big Kate episode, episode 5. We're going to get some answers.
Yeah, Kate's she's just young in this timeline, and when you're young and you haven't had a lot of relationships before, I think you cling to things more than you should. And we don't know what these conversations between Kate and Mark are going to be like, but I don't think we're going to see Mark suddenly turn it around and be a totally different person. Like, the guy's terrible. I am assuming he will continue to be terrible regardless of if she is going to him saying that she's pregnant, or if this was just an ovulation kit we saw at first, that she's going to try to be with him so that she can be pregnant later. Like, he's not going to be good. That's not a spoiler. I think that's just a known fact.
We have a video that we will link down below where we went into a lot more detail about whether or not she's looking at an ovulation kit, whether it's a pregnancy kit, whether it's a pregnancy test later, whether it is both. So we will link that below because there's a lot to get into with that. But it does look like episode 5, some answers are coming.
So #2, let's talk a little bit here about Laurel, because we're going to get a lot of answers on Laurel not that long after we get answers on Kate, thankfully.
Yeah, so in that same interview, Ken was saying that in episode 6, we're going to have a big sort of Laurel story episode where I'm not saying that we're going to get all the Laurel answers, but I mean, we haven't gotten that much. We've really gotten that we know that she woke up from that OD, and we know that there's a picture of her and the Fisherman where it's hard to see, and it kind of looks like they're both like hugging her stomach, and maybe she's pregnant. It's kind of hard to see from that angle. I'm guessing pregnant, and that's kind of where we're rolling with this, but we're gonna get some sort of backstory on her, which I'm really glad for. They're not making us wait a super long time with this.
And Ken in this interview, he suggested that it might be something that's sort of standalone, where we kind of focus a ton on Laurel in this episode. I mean, we've seen installments of This Is Us before that are like this, that are kind of focused on characters that are outside the big three, and I'm fine with this, but I kind of want a little bit of Randall in here as well. Like, let's say the Fisherman calls up Randall at some point in episode 5 and is just like, hey, Mr. Shirtless Dancing Guy, I know who exactly you might be tied to. And maybe Randall and the Fisherman meet in episode 6 and we get flashbacks along the way.
We need some more answers on this Fisherman, because number 3, the Fisherman is going to have a really large role to come, and that's per Dan Fogelman on a EW interview, that, we've seen a little bit of him, and for a while we were thinking maybe, all we're going to really see him for is to be able to say, by the way, your mom is or was still alive, but it seems like it's going to be a much, much, much bigger role. And in some ways that makes sense, because if that picture is of the Fisherman and Laurel and she's pregnant and it's his, then he's the father of Randall's half-sibling, if that sibling is made it through the pregnancy, is still alive, is still around, is still whatever. That makes a Fisherman a really important part of Randall's life. Could be.
I hope that he is. Like, I want to see Randall, going off and maybe visiting this person and maybe getting to see this sort of extended part of what is this large family of his that he never really knew about before. And I want this Fisherman to be an influence. Like, he seems like a nice dude. He's willing to take his granddaughter out, teach her a little bit about fishing and Vietnamese. Like, he seems like a good guy. I hope we get more of him.
And that might open up for Randall as well to have almost like a fourth kind of father figure, because he has had a lot of people in his life that have given different things to him in that role. We've got, Jack, we've got William, we've got Miguel, even though I know Miguel isn't really the focus of this. He would have been around a long time. So, there's Miguel, and maybe now there's the Fisherman.
The only thing I have kind of some reservations on is that it feels like This Is Us. They've got like 10 recurring characters who we just don't see for extended periods of time. Like, Miguel's barely been on this season. Nikki, have we even seen Nikki this season at all?
No, we haven't, but I'm okay with that, because it seems like the story that's happening right now doesn't need to include him. So I'm glad that they're not just putting him in to put him in. I really like Nikki's, but I want it to be purposeful.
All right, let's get into number 4 here, because this is about Kevin and Randall, and potentially when could these two actually kind of sort of patch things up. In the Deadline interview, Ken noted that episode 8, I know we're looking far down the road here, who knows if episode 8's even airing in January.
Yeah, I know.
The way they're rolling them out, we may get it in like July or something. I'm kidding, but no, there's going to be something for Kevin and Randall that's going to be coming by that point.
Yeah, and I mean, things, it seems, are going to be changing a lot for Kevin. We have seen a lot of change moving forward already. He's kind of on this weird footing where, he's sort of hit 40. He's not hitting like a giant midlife crisis, but he's definitely having a change in himself. He's got the twins on the way. He's trying to navigate this new relationship. He's trying to navigate this new job. He's fighting with his brother. There is a lot of stuff that is on the plate for him right now. But episode 8, if it's sort of something big that's coming, it, I hope, has to do with the fight, that maybe they're finding a way past this.
I would really, really hope so. I think there's going to be a lot of weight, at least based on the interviews that we've seen, that sort of put behind that conversation that Kate and Kevin had, where Kate sort of indicated to Kevin what she is struggling with because of what Randall said to her earlier this season about, growing up as a young black man in a white family, and sort of the not really like an intentional just shunning of his identity or anything, but just how Kate didn't quite understand, and maybe Kevin can establish more empathy and understanding for Randall through what Kate has said to him.
Yeah, my hope is that with Kevin's growth, that he is going to start to have his own sort of understanding about that, so that when he does go back to talk to Randall, that it's him coming to Randall about it and not Randall having to come and explain it to Kevin, that Kevin could be on a path to better understanding. And, you know, these two brothers have never really seen eye to eye in general over other stuff, but maybe Kevin can be the one to start to move it forward and have a better understanding of that part of Randall's upbringing and life and just being himself.
At least we know that they're gonna get better eventually. We've seen them in the future, like those flash forwards, so I don't want to make them wait the whole season on this.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see them back in each other's corner at some point, fairly soon if possible.
Okay, so Ken also spoke to EW, and in that interview, he said that Kevin is going to have, you know, a bigger role coming in. He's there's going to be more, of course, going on with Madison, their relationship. But this director, this Foster, who's like attaboy basket or whatever,
Yeah.
which right now I'm kind of like, with this director, not because it's like, oh yeah, he's this hard director that's in there that's really pushing Kevin. Right now, so far, all I've seen is that this director has actually not directed Kevin at all, and Kevin was like, hey, I need feedback to know if I'm doing something wrong, and it's your job to tell me, and instead you're sending me a gift basket. So what I'm hoping is that going forward, if this is what he's saying, you know, that Foster's going to have a bigger sort of impact on Kevin, I'm hoping that he's actually going to have that impact on him, and that it's not going to be this, who knows why I'm doing this mysterious stuff to you.
First of all, I wish people would send me gift baskets with regularity in the way in which Foster seems to send them out to people, but...
Yep.
You know, Kevin, he doesn't have a lot of mentors in a lot of ways, and a lot of people to sort of look up to in that way, because Jack's obviously dead, and, you know, Miguel, he's got clearly a lot of other things going on with Rebecca at this point. I think it would be good for Kevin to have some outside perspectives that could cause him to see maybe his relationship with Madison differently, his status as a father-to-be, and kind of just figure out who he really wants to be, because I don't know if Kevin honestly has ever actually figured that out fully.
Kevin is messy. He really does not know who he is, and it's sort of like he feels almost like he knows where he wants to get to, but he doesn't really know how to get to it, because he's got his brother who's in a great relationship, great family.
Yeah.
Kate's got Toby, great family, kid, you know, all that's happening, adopting, like their families are really stable. And then here's Kevin, who's 40 years old. He's having babies with someone he barely knows. He's still struggling as an actor in some ways because of his body image issues and him sort of feeling like, oh man, I'm 40, my currency is my abs, I'm not gonna be able to keep this up. Like he is at a huge crossroads. But even before that, he's been messy, and he's been messy in a lot of his relationships as well as just his own self. He really is his own worst enemy throughout life.
I hope this is a chance for him to sort of get more perspective in general over the next several episodes. He certainly needs it, and I'm excited about where a lot of this is going. It's kind of weird because we've gone through the 5 things, but this is like sort of, we don't actually have scoop on this, but where's the Rebecca and Miguel episode? Because they were like hyping this up, and I haven't really seen or heard anything in the past week or two that makes me think like, oh boy, this is coming up. Maybe it's episode 7 since we haven't heard anything about that. I don't know.
Or maybe it's going to be later on in the episode or in the season, and whenever it is, I'll be thankful for it. I've long wanted some more of Rebecca and Miguel. You know, we kind of know that they got together 10 years or so after Jack's passing, that they reconnected through Facebook, and then we barely know anything else. So I'd really like an episode that flashbacks a bit where we see how difficult it probably was for the two of them dealing with their guilt of getting together. Even though it's 10 years later, even if it's 20 years, 30 years, like there's going to be some guilt that the two of them have gone through, or even a back and forth of like, no, I can't, where the other one's like, no, we can. And then they're switching. Like, I really want to see that.
We all need a little bit more of Miguel to understand
I
him
agree.
better. It's time. We haven't done it in a long time. Miguel.
I love Miguel. I think he's great. I love the actor. He's great.
John Huertas is great.
I know, he's so good.
Yeah, John Huertas, get your screen time. You deserve it. But anyway, what do you guys want on This Is Us, Season 5, Episode 5? What do you think about these 5 teases? How many more times can I do that in a video? Let us know all of your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy this discussion, subscribe, give us a like, support us further, check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.